we actually have been doing this for years, and we just see the difference in being aware of our data, tracking our data, and using it, again, to help make those better and more informed decisions about our business. And now we can provide sound guidance, of course, Sue's the expert, to our clients.
Right.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Obviously, I am not Frank LaRosa. My name is Stacey Frank. I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales of Elite Consulting. And to my left, I have Sue Cheema, who is our
Chief Information Officer.
Say hi, Sue.
Hello.
This is actually mine and Sue's first episode together, just us in the Advisor Talk studio, and we are super excited. I think the goal of today is to get really practical and granular with the topic of how advisors and their practices are using their data to make better decisions about their business. So being that I have many conversations and work with our senior consultants who have many conversations with the financial advisors every day, we thought it would be a good idea to share some actual conversations, how those conversations are evolving to promote opportunities and where advisors should use our Jedi database solution company. And Sue's the expert. So we're going to have some fun today. So you ready?
Yes.
All right. So,
hopefully I'm ready.
So what we came up with today were top 5 questions that seem to be really sparking curiosity. And again, these are questions that have come from actual conversations with other RIAs, independent financial advisors, or even advisors in the wirehouses that are thinking about starting their own business. And so utilizing data and understanding data is really important. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It's the foundation of most firms, I would say, all firms. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the conversation usually starts by saying something to the effect of, so how is your business, how are you utilizing your data as a financial advisor practice to help you make informed decisions or just better general decisions about your business? Because we believe that without having data, not just financial advisor practices, but really any business, how are you tracking whether processes are in place are successful? How are you tracking things, conversations or strategies that you're utilizing with clients? How are you tracking those things to know whether you're doing it right or not, or whether you're impacting your clients in the right way? And so obviously we only work with financial advisor practices, but I think this is something that's critical for any business. So just to kind of reiterate, the conversation usually starts by asking an advisor, how is your data helping you make informed or better decisions about your business? And oftentimes we get no response or an awkward silence and a pause of, I'm not sure. So hopefully this conversation will help
trigger some of the answers.
Trigger some of those answers, exactly. But we're gonna have fun with this. We're gonna have fun with this. So I'm just gonna ask Sue some of the questions that I think is important in our day-to-day conversations with the financial advisor. Okay, so ready, Sue?
Let's hope so.
All right. So at a high level, I keep talking about these decisions that advisors need to make for their business. So at a high level, what kinds of decisions can using Jedi database solutions help an advisor make? Like decisions about what?
Right.
What decisions?
I think at the end of the day, when you're looking to, I'm going to break that down into 3 categories, which is prospects, clients, and analytics, right? Overall firm analytics, let's say. So in marketing phase, if you have, I work with some financial advisors that have like 13,000 leads or prospects. How are you prioritizing the ones that are warm, are ready to go.
So the A clients.
The A clients.
A plus clients.
Versus the ones that may be 6 to 10 months out. You can't do that without data, right? That's your prospecting phase. Let's do in the client phase, and there's so many examples, but I'm going to stick to life events. If we are able to say, oh, somebody's getting married, someone's, God forbid, going through divorce, or having a child, or buying a new home, how does that impact their overall strategy, financial strategy, or goals?
So these are like, so you're describing personal information about clients, which is important to
very important
relationship building. Again, with any business,
right?
Do you know your clients well enough, and how are you keeping track of that data? Because to your point, if you have a few dozen of thousands of clients, it's impossible to remember. So
all of it, right? To remember all of it. And then the last category was overall firm analytics, which is like, how many clients do you have? How many prospects are ready to go in your pipeline? What are the kind of opportunities you're pursuing? I mean, there's so much based on your KPIs and what's driving your business that we could give right front and center on your dashboards.
So just to kind of recap, so you talked about decisions about clients.
Lead gen.
Decisions about lead gen.
Yep. Clients. And then overall firm analytics, which is how to grow your business.
So growth, clients, data about clients.
Yep. And then
lead
prospects.
gen.
Yep.
Prospecting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's super important. Okay, so moving on here. Great answer. Great answer.
I got an A+.
I love this one. Not all CRMs. And what does CRM stand for?
Client relationship management.
Client relationship management system, which every business needs to have.
Right.
Because where else are you storing your data?
Yeah.
So we believe that in financial services, that not all CRMs are created equal. So maybe talk about that, and how are some CRMs different? How are they better than others? Maybe talk about those capabilities.
I find that there are, I'm going to break that down in two categories, which is initiation, like when you're in your first setup phase, when you're starting a new firm, let's say, and then the scalability and growth phase. So during the first phase is, all right, let's just get a way to track some of our clients and some of the activities because it's required. So, simpler, more restricted platforms, I would say, like Wealthbox, Redtail, and nothing against them. They're just, they're not as customizable as something like Salesforce or Salentica or Practify, which are also the overlays on Salesforce. And the distinction is there is a high analytical aspect to Salesforce. You can really customize and curate the processes, and ultimately you can integrate Salesforce with almost anything. So at the end of the day, if you're really looking for value, you're in that growth scalability platforms. And if you're just looking for basic, let me just set this up for now, and we'll take care of a scalable growth platform 5 to 10 years out. I would distinguish the platforms within those two categories.
So it's basically, some are just there to store data, maybe like a holding tank analogy.
Basic KYC information, whatever is required by compliance.
Interesting. So look, if you're somebody that wants to do some of the more sophisticated capabilities, there's definitely certain CRMs that have those capabilities and some that don't. It's not a promotion of one over the other.
No.
Because look, some businesses may want it to just hold their data and not build out automations or workflows or anything like that.
Fine.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But just know that your data, you're not utilizing your data in a way that can help you grow the business or build efficiencies. Nothing wrong with it. It just, you're making a decision about the capabilities of what your data can and can't do by the CRM that you choose. Did I say that correctly?
1,000%. And I just feel like there is more return on your investment on some of the growth and scalable platforms than there is on, let's call them, starting a new company and just storing and tracking KYC information platforms.
Awesome. No, that's really helpful. So that's one of the things that if you, and we hope you do, have a conversation with us, that we can sort of of help you compare and contrast and what's the best option for a CRM for what your needs are as the financial advisor.
Yeah.
So, okay, so moving on. So what are some ways we talk about tracking information and using your data to make these informed decisions, tracking information? So how should advisors think about tracking it, and then how can they view it? 'Cause it's great if you measure it,
Right.
but if you're not seeing it in a certain way, then there's kind of a disconnect on how you're able to utilize it.
Right.
So maybe touch on that.
So I have in my past worked with financial advisors, and ultimately their KPIs become what's required out of ADV reports at the end of the year, right? Which is how many actual clients do you have? How much assets do you have under management? And then how do you manage your firm better, right? Which is what are employees doing? What are the activities? What are the financial goals of these clients? And how are you meeting them? How are you aligning? What are the frequencies that is required based on their net worth, as an example, to meet with them? And how are you tracking all of that? I think just to kind of sum it up a little bit, ADV report essentially becomes KPIs for a lot of the dashboards that I have built for these financial advisors.
And a KPI is a key progress.
Performance indicator.
Key performance indicator.
Yeah,
Performance progress. It's all the same.
It's all the same.
But I mean, look, we do that stuff internally, and we measure, without giving away our secret sauce, but we measure conversations that we're having with our advisor clients. We measure results on
closing ratios, duration, how long something has been open, how long it's taking us to go through phases. I mean, Elite is really good in analytics. Like, we spend a lot of time and effort in making our reports and data align with what we are looking to achieve at the end of the day towards our goals.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Sue, that why we're able to really make this connection for our advisor clients, even though it's same but different.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with client assets, but we're doing it ourselves. So we're not providing this guidance or advice just coming out of left field. We actually have been doing this for years, and we just see the difference in being aware of our data, tracking our data, and using it, again, to help make those better and more informed decisions about our business. And now we can provide sound guidance. Of course, Sue's the expert, to our clients.
Right.
So it's like the perfect relationship.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what we hope to give out to the clients for Jedi data management. Yeah.
Sue, I think we're a good tag team here.
There you go.
We like yin and yang of
we're
Jedi.
Take this on.
We're going to storm the industry. All right. No, we're just having fun. But all kidding aside, I hope you are so far getting some good value out of what we're describing. But we've got a few more questions left. So again, those were the top three, the first three. And then we just have two more on, I think specifically for financial advisors, client onboarding, which you did touch on that before. So like timing it takes for an account to fund or for commissions to fund. How could, again, at a high level, keep it high level.
Not too technical.
Not too technical, but just enough. How can Jedi Database Solutions help to maybe reduce the time or make an advisor aware of what happens when you bring on a client to when those accounts actually fund officially?
Yes. So I'm going to break this down also in a couple of components. One is when you actually sign a prospect onto a client and you start filling out their applications, the KYC information that you store in your CRM becomes really vital, because that's what you're transferring over to custodial applications. So if you have an integration to pull that data from the CRM right into those applications, that will save you a ton of time. That's one shrink of those days that you're taking, because I've seen firms do copy pasting on these applications, which is like, oh my God. The second phase is submitting and templating these applications, marking them for signatures for the clients. So what I have done in my past for a couple of RIAs is integrate it with DocuSign and create and create a process whereby certain areas are automatically marked for the clients to do those signatures, and then a templated email that goes out to the client. So once it hits the custodial platform, it can actually send a notification back once the accounts are funded to say, hey, the funding has happened. You could reach out. You could start billing. And that, like, overall, what I've been able to achieve in my past is each application time, and some clients, like if they are, depending on how, their net worth, could have a lot of applications that you're completing for them. So per application, we were able to shrink from 15 minutes to 3 minutes.
Wow. I mean, that's substantial, especially if you are a large team of advisors. Maybe you have, a few hundred clients with thousands of accounts. This stuff is really critical. And we don't expect that just by listening to this podcast that you're just going to just be able to make the connections and be able to go utilize it, but and this kind of leads to my next and final question, but allow Sue and her expertise to walk you through specifically what that can mean for your business, for your advisors, and of course your clients. Right. And how it all
kind of ties together.
How it all integrates. That's the word. We love that word, integration. So the last and final question, and I think this is really important, is what can an advisor or an RIA, an independent practice, expect in their first conversation with you? What information should they be aware of so that when they're speaking with you for their first consultation, what should they have ready so that they can make that first conversation with you the best use of their time?
Right. So the first discovery call that I have with prospects, let's say, I'm hoping to gather what platforms they're using, what their pain points off those platforms are, and what the goal is. Like, what's the success criteria 6 months out, 12 months out, 5 years out, right? Because at some point, like, I have this pyramid that I always have in my mind, and usually when we're going through those slides, we'll present it to the prospects, which is like at the very basic layer of your platforms, all your platforms, like all your tech stack, is data integrity. Like, are you consistent, and is your data speaking the truth for your clients and for your firm, right? At the second layer, we are optimization through automation, which is like, how can we take some of your manual processes and systemize them through automations? And the last layer on top is the integration, which is like, take all your tech stack and combine it to integration. So the end goal 5 years out could be like, oh, we want to be able to speak through, Salesforce or whatever CRM system they may have and create a new record. And it goes like, I don't even have to type anything. It just goes to the custodial. Like, it could be far out, but there could be iterations to getting us there, even integrating AI. But yeah, I'm looking for what your pain points are, what is your success criteria, what is your end goal with technology, and how can we optimize it all for you?
I think one of the things that's really been resonating and where we've had some good success already is just let Sue put her eyes and her expertise on what you're doing. Yeah. We're not looking to disclose any information or display lack of confidentiality or anything like that, because we know client data is really sacred and we have to operate under discretion like advisors do. Yeah. But at least let us do sort of a
health check.
A health check.
Yeah.
I love that. A Jedi health check on what you're utilizing today, maybe what your goals are, and some suggestions, because Sue, you've been doing this your entire career, so you've seen what other advisors have done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and we treat every single practice as unique. Right. So it just takes a 15-20 minute phone conversation or Zoom for Sue and I together, because it's more fun when we do it together. To understand, again, what practices, what automations, processes, what is your data, what's the health of your data look like today, and how can we get you to where you want to go? Yeah. So
like a report card.
Yeah, like a report card. Oh, now I have PTSD of like elementary school. But I think hopefully this resonated and why you should work with Sue and myself and our team here at Elite, because I think it's a best practice for really any business. But in our case, we really care about our advisor practices and, helping them grow. And this is really one key component. Without it, we don't believe you can really achieve those visions and goals that we want to be a part of. So
I love this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hope this was helpful at a high level. We'd love to set up a time to just, have a conversation. And you can reach, obviously, the expert of all experts.
Sue Cheema at eliteconsultingpartners.com.
Can you spell that?
Yes, SUECHEEMA at Elite Consulting Partners.
And what is your phone number, Sue?
516-724-6372.
Yep. And as always, I'm Stacey at eliteconsultingpartners.com. Stacey, don't forget the E. My direct line is 856-816-6322. Thank you for listening. Hope this was really helpful.
Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.